Welcome back, Dirtbags. As you know, we've been doing this Diamond Kinetics series here, and we've had right from the top CJ Handron to Jeff Schultz to Casey Roche, and talking with the swing tracker on the last episode. And this episode, we're lucky enough to have from the West Coast branch of DK, if you want to, Kyle Bennett with us, and vast knowledge on the pitch tracker side of things. And this is what we're talking about right here. You've been waiting for it. So, Kyle and I are going to get down to business. We're going to certainly keep it simple on this episode and not to blow you away with too much. Kyle's just going to talk a little bit about the key metrics that, a lot of the people have an understanding of, and then in future episodes we can dive a little deeper into some of the other amazing and unbelievable metrics that are being collected in the evolution of on the pitch tracker side of Diamond Kinetics. So great to have you with us, Kyle. Thanks for being on. I appreciate it, and I look forward to the show, buddy.
Yeah, Kirk. No, I appreciate you having myself and obviously Diamond Kinetics on this series. It's great to talk about our tech. So I'm happy to be here and ready to talk pitching.
So yeah, as you know, we're all about educating and empowering players, amateur players, and parents and coaches and stuff like that, but definitely the players and the parents as we go through these video series with companies like yourselves. And so it's great that your guys have been able to break it down. But let's go ahead and simplify it for this one for sure. I mean, it's as simple. I'll grab the baseball one. Obviously, you have it too, and it's really mind-boggling that dirtbags out there. It's as simple as this. It literally, you throw the ball up in the air. Once it's up and rolling and you've got the app connected, and Kyle will talk deeper about it, and you're live. You're live. Like, the sensor in here, it's just, I don't know. I'm not going to step on your toes, man. Try to explain it to us and try to make it simple to the best of your ability. And the floor is all yours, man.
Yeah, definitely. Well, so in its simplest form, this is the smart baseball, right? Like your smartphone, your smart TV, it's smart baseball. So essentially what we've done is we put our swing tracker sensor inside of the baseball. And by doing so, what we've enabled ourselves to do is capture all of these metrics that are important to pitching, that are important to pitchers and pitching coaches. So, putting the sensor in there enables us to now track the ball, measure where it's going, how it's moving, how it's traveling through space, its movement patterns, so many metrics and different things that we have the ability to uncover just by having our pitchers or our players throw this baseball. So obviously one of the cool things that it does that a lot of people buy it for or like it for is velocity, right? So it does capture that, right? And we know how fast this thing is moving over time. And it's just one of the metrics that we capture, and obviously it's an important one, right? Velocity plays. So, but yeah, I mean, I think truly in its simplest form, it's a smart baseball, which means it's going to provide you with information just from throwing it. And I think that's one of the really cool aspects of our smart baseball.
Yeah, definitely. It's a mind-boggling smart baseball. It really is. As we were using it throughout the summer and the fall, and before we engaged with you on doing this series and getting our own understanding of it, like I've said on the other episodes, like the player development side of the pitch tracker and the swing trackers just blows me away. It really, truly does. The game changer of it all. And the fact that, even this fall, you guys put the money and the time and the effort into the sensors of the body and learning how the actual body and emotion. And I know that's coming for 2021, that synergy and stuff like that, the evolution of it. But you back it up. And so right now, as we've said on the other episodes, Kyle, you are on the iOS, the Apple platforms and stuff like that. Android is going to be there in 2021. So that's all exciting for you all out there. If you're not an Apple products user in that, it's going to be across all platforms. So that's exciting for sure. And really, I guess if you can't explain it to you, you really do have to have the product and the app to get the connection of it and stuff like that. And I don't want to blow people away about that because, for $99, the price of, a private lesson and maybe a blip more, you've got a player development tool in your hand that's collecting data for you, information for you constantly. And not only that, but you guys have been able to implement in the app, you know, good information that relates to what they're actually doing. So maybe explain that a little bit if you don't mind.
Yeah. Well, so real quick, touching on motion efficiency, you brought it up. We are getting ready to release motion efficiency, right? And that is going to allow us to do markerless body motion capture with our iOS devices, Android to be soon, but allowing us to use the camera to capture what the body is doing as the pitcher or player is delivering the baseball. So that is coming. That's going to be awesome. We'll talk about that, obviously, maybe in a later episode or something like that as we get closer to release. But that's one of the things that's coming from it. But two, on the other side, using just the data that we collect now for you today allows us to better develop our pitchers, right? It allows us to uncover what they're doing. We're able to see different spin patterns on the baseball, movement patterns. We're able to see the spin rate, the velocity. We can also capture the body motion. So do we get extension? Can that lead to perceived velocity? Different things like that. So the ball itself is going to help players and coaches better develop either themselves as players or coaches better develop the players that they work with. And in some of the ways that we do that is through the data that we capture, right? So the metrics that we capture are velocity, spin rate, vertical and horizontal break, which is a new metrics that we just released about 3 weeks ago or a month ago now. Vertical and horizontal break, spin efficiency, extension, delivery time, time to plate measurements, and arm speed. So with all of those new metrics, I think we're now approaching, 10 or 11 metrics on the pitching side, which, about a month ago, we were only at 5, right? So I say only at 5. 5's a lot of metrics on the pitching side, but now I think we're upwards of 10, which now gives us a complete picture on what this thing is doing out of the pitcher's hand and as it travels to home plate, right? And so with some of the data that we collect, we have the ability to go back and make changes to the player. Maybe it's a hand position at release. Maybe it's a body mechanic that we need to adjust. Maybe they need to sink lower into their back hip, maybe get a better hinge. But these are all things that we can uncover as coaches to help develop our players based on the data that we're seeing. Right. And so with the information that we have, we can ultimately diagnose a player and say, hey, I think that this is a change that you need to make. And here's why. Here's what the data is telling me. And this is why I believe you need to make that change. Right. So as a player development tool, it now opens up the lines of communication between the coach and the player with a visual that backs up what the coach is saying. So now there's proof in the pudding. Right? When I was growing up and when I was playing, it was, hey, just listen to your coach. Doesn't matter what he says, listen to your coach because he knows more than you do. And if you ever, I ran into this a lot. I used to ask my coaches why, and I used to get in trouble for asking why, right? And the reason why I got in trouble was because I didn't understand why they wanted me to make the change. It didn't feel right to me. But yet they didn't have an explanation or a way of proving to me that that way was better, right? And so now having the technology, having a tool that opens up those lines of communication and allows the player and coach to look objectively at the same thing, whether that's velocity, spin rate, any of our other metrics, we now have something we can look at, talk around, and agree upon that, hey, if we make this change consistently, we are going to improve. And that's where this ball comes in.
And I'm so glad you said that too, Kyle. I truly am, because Dirtbags, as you know, when we're doing our hands-on training out there and where we are, but it's always, I don't think people appreciate enough, Kyle, that there is a mental and a physical and an emotional connection that is involved in every throw, every swing, every feeling, everything we do in life. You know, we forget about when we're walking because we just learn it and we get it going, right? But when we're talking about pitching and throwing, it is such a skill specific activity. You really never appreciate it that much. So for you to say why, I think that's a great point. Dirtbags out there always be asking why. If you're an amateur coach out there, do not be offended by that question of why. Be simple and be honest. If you don't have the answer, that's not bad. That's not the end of the world. Don't feel like you're inferior. Sit there and say, that's a great question, Kyle. Let me find out an answer for you. Let me use my network and reach out. And that's what we're all part of. That's all part of these video series and stuff like that is we don't want to just be here one and done with you. We want to be in the journey with you. So that was awesome that you brought that up, Kyle. And staying on that point. So let's say you're just getting the pitch tracker. All right, whether it's the fastball or the I call it fastball, but softball or the baseball, doesn't matter. What you need to realize, dirtbags, is these are regulation weight, regulation size, leather on the ball, stitching from the company that is one of two in the world that do it. So these things are real. These are legit. These are not synthetic plastic and stuff like that. Your sensation, your sensory systems will feel just like it would be in a game. So there's no disconnect there. So my question, I guess, to start with, what would you recommend, Kyle, to the parent and the player at the amateur level when they first get theirs? What would you sell them to, get comfortable with and focus on at the first stages of this?
Yeah. I think somebody who's going to go, either to our website, maybe they just got it as part of a team package. Maybe they're at a college program that has adopted Diamond Kinetics. Whatever the case may be, you now have this baseball in your hands. And you might be thinking, okay, great. It collects a bunch of data, but what do I do with it? Like, how do I get the most out of this? What am I going to do to throw my bullpen and then, get something back in return, as opposed to just some numbers or things like that? And one of the things that we can do here, and that I always like to do with players, is one, when you first get it, just go out and use it. Pair it, connect it to the app, and just start using it, right? Go out and throw, a bullpen, go play some catch, do something to get data into the app so you can then understand and see the layout within the app, kind of how it flows, how quickly the data comes back over, and then what it looks like. I think that is one of the best ways for anybody to first start out and use our technology, is just go use it, go play with it. Don't worry about trying to improve yourself on that very first session. Just get acclimated with the app, get acclimated with the ball, with the tool, and just get yourself in the habit of looking at the data after you throw, and then just seeing what it is. Don't try to change anything. Don't try to improve necessarily on that first session. Just go out and use it. Have some fun, play around with it, right? And then once you've kind of got your hands on it, you kind of understand how the app works, how it's displaying data to you. Then now we jump in and we start to use it as a training tool or a development tool, right? And one of the things that I love doing with any new program that either I work with or any of my colleagues work with that bring me in to talk about pitching, is one, I need a baseline set of data, right? I need that initial report. And so I say that because I used to coach junior college baseball. I was a pitching coach and recruiting coordinator for 7 years in Northern California at a community college. And one of the things that I did the very first time I got my team together in the fall, our first practice, we get on the mounds, and I had a set pre-prescribed bullpen that I had every player throw. That way I knew where they started when they first came into my program, right? I now have that baseline set of data on them. And usually what I do with that is it's fastballs only, right? I don't need to see the players' off-speed pitches. I just want to see their fastball, right? Because for me as a pitching coach, and for me as somebody who utilizes technology or in data in baseball on a daily basis, I need to know what that player's fastball does, right? And that's arm slot, that's spin direction, that's spin rate, that's velocity, it's movement patterns, it's all of that stuff tied into one. I need to understand what that player does with their fastball, right? And so one of the things that I like doing with that is just getting that baseline bullpen, right? And one of the things that can be done within our app is you have the ability to create custom bullpens, right? So you can create this bullpen in our app and then have all of your players throw it, right? The nice part about that is they go out and they throw that bullpen. You now have all of that baseline data saved in your app to where you can go back and see it and review it and see if there's anything that stands out, right? And so again, one of the things that I like to do is once I have that fastball information, I now want to categorize that pitcher, right? And I do this for every player individually. This is not a cookie cutter approach. It's not one size fits all. This is individualized to the player, right? Because I'm going to have a guy who's right-handed, throws over the top. I'm going to have a guy who's left-handed, that's 3/4. I have different arms for different things, and they all do different stuff. So ultimately, I want to individualize my training and progression program for them individually, right? And so by having the information on the pitcher and understanding what they can do with their fastball, I can then help them devise, the rest of this and figure out what pitches play best off their fastball. What movement patterns should they be trying to achieve? What pitches tunnel best off their fastball, right? So we can start going down a rabbit hole if we want and get really, really detailed in depth, but it all starts with the fastball, right? And so, one of the things, Kirk, if you're okay with it, I'd love to bring it up now. What I've done is actually put together a chart. I'll share this here on the screen with you guys. But what I've done is put together a chart here on fastballs. And it kind of talks about, how I do this and how I come up with these diagnosis for the fastball. So easily, on the screen here, what we're looking at is a color-coded chart for a right-handed pitcher. And what we are seeing is the average spin direction, the average arm slot, the average vertical and horizontal break measurements, and the average spin efficiency targets here on the screen. And so one of the things that we can do with our data is after a player has thrown a bullpen, right? They've gone out and they've given you their test data. They've thrown all fastballs. You have the ability to go back and look at all of this information on a particular player, right? We pull up the data on this player, and you guys, what we can see here is that the first thing I would want to diagnose in a pitcher is what arm slot they're throwing out of, okay? And then what we can see here is I have it labeled towards the bottom here. You can see it says overhand 1145 to 1, 3/4 1 to 230. 130 is the danger zone. I'll get to that in a second. Sidearm 230 to 315. Submarine 315 to 5 o'clock. Okay. And all of those are actually labeled there. Those are the triangles that you see over top the clock face in the baseball. Those give you an idea of what the general ranges of spin direction are for a particular arm slot, right? So green we can see is overhand, right? That's somebody like a right-handed version of Clayton Kershaw, right? Somebody who's really over the top and throws, that high four seam, right? Then you have in yellow your 3/4 arm pitchers, your typical arm slot, right? And then 130, that is the danger zone. Okay, and I label it as the danger zone. It's probably not the right term for it, but 130 in that danger zone area is what we consider to be average. Okay, and when a hitter sees a pitcher who is average, they know where the ball will be when it crosses the zone. If a player is outside of average, the hitter is not accustomed to seeing that, which makes it a little bit more difficult to hit. So ideally, when I'm working with a player, I want them to be outside of that 130 arm slot, either above or below it. But that is something we can do after we've collected baseline data. Okay. If you notice here in the bottom left, average SRN. Okay, what is SRN? SRN is spin rate normalization, or what a lot of people call it is Bauer units, right? And basically what we are doing here is we are taking the player's spin rate that we are collecting in the app, and we are dividing that by the player's velocity, which is also collected in the app, right? Based on MLB data, and this can be moved across the board from the big leagues all the way down to little league, right? But average SRN score, spin rate divided by velocity, is 24. Okay. And that is average. And we can do that simply by pulling out the calculator on our phone, typing in our spin rate, dividing it by our velocity, and it will produce a score. Okay. And one of the things that I want to do is after I've figured out the player's arm slot, I now want to understand what their spin rate is on their fastball and their spin rate normalization score. Okay. That will then effectively tell me what type of fastball pitcher I am working with. All right. So looking at this here, we can see that, 24 is average. Players that have a spin rate normalization or a Bauer unit score above 24, so 25 or higher, those are your players, your Justin Verlanders, your Garrett Coles, who have the ability to pitch up in the zone with their fastball and throw a breaking pitch off of it. Right? We've seen that a lot out of both of those guys. But those guys have high spin rates on their fastball. What that tells me is that their ball does not drop as much on the way to home plate. It actually kind of what they call or term it in the bigs is they let it ride, right? That fastball's got some ride or late life, right? It kind of just hums in there, stays up. That's a high spin rate pitcher, right? So we use Bauer units or spin rate normalization scores to determine what type of pitcher we're working with. 25 plus is going to be your high spin rate guy. 23.5 to 24.5, right? Kind of that in between, that is your average pitcher. That is the player that typically gets hit the hardest. It's not to say that this player cannot succeed. They definitely can succeed. It's all about missing barrels and getting weak contact. But players that fall within this average spin rate range, hitters have a better understanding of where that ball is going to cross the plate when it gets there, right? And then on the opposite side of that, we talked about high spin rate. The other side is low spin rate, right? And that's somebody who has a spin rate normalization score of 23 or less, right? This player is going to typically have more run or sink on their pitches, and their ball is going to move east and west more than it moves north and south. Now, yes, if they have a good two-seam sinker, they're going to get some vertical movement downward. But typically, players that have low spins typically will have more movement horizontally, right? East and west, right and left and right. So one of the things that we want to be able to do is diagnose each one of our players, whether you're doing this on your own at home or coaches, you're doing this with a group of pitchers that you're working with. Understand what type of fastball they have, and then this will further your development for that player individually. If you know what type of fastball they possess and what arm slot they throw out of, you're ultimately going to be able to give the player better recommendations that are going to ultimately change their mechanics, their delivery, their pitch types to maximize their output when they're on the mound.
Yeah, that's fantastic, man. That's for sure. And that's a great place to start too, Kyle. I appreciate that, definitely. And as you've seen, Dirtbags, obviously there's a lot more than just what Kyle and I can do on this episode and stuff like that. This was a starter episode as we thought it would be and stuff like that. But obviously it's the only place to start is with the fastball. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it, Kyle. So that was outstanding to lay that groundwork. And I think, the next episodes as we move forward and stuff like that, we show a little bit more of what the metrics look like when you're looking at it on your phone. But having said that, I will confirm that, it is amazing. It's literally like Kyle said at the very first, is just throwing and getting used to it and getting comfortable with it. And it's literally seamless. It's 30 seconds up and down and it's on your phone and there it is. And it's amazing. So the connection and the synergy of the whole component is unbelievable. And again, we'll dive more into it as we move forward in our episodes with Kyle and stuff like that, because we know that you want it and you will want it. So we want to continue that education and that empowerment for you as a a pitcher, yes, but even as just a thrower as well, to be able to understand, is my hand behind the ball, or am I around the side of the ball, and understanding why you get tail from across the infield or from the outfield to the infield. There's much more than just the pitching that can be done with this if you really think about it. So that's awesome. And again, great place to start, Kyle. Before we do wrap up, is there any other last kind of tidbits that you'd like to just engage them with?
Yeah, well, you actually just kind of touched on it right there. Obviously, everything that I just spilled and vomited on you guys is pitching information, right? That's, hey, how do I diagnose a pitcher's fastball? How do I figure out what kind of arm slot he's in? But you're right. One of the things you said is this ball can be used for other players. It's not limited to just pitchers. Now, yes, the app is set up and designed like that. But one of the coolest things that a lot of our partners, my partners included, are doing today, they're using this baseball with their catchers, okay? And one of the great things that they're doing with it is they're putting it in their catcher's glove and having them throw to bases, all right? And what they're doing is ultimately trying to figure out what, the spin direction is, what the spin axis is, and trying to help that player, the catcher in particular, keep that ball staying true on its path to second base, right? We've all seen it. We've had catchers that, get on the side of the ball here a little bit, and all of a sudden that thing's tailing off the bag and the runner is safe by a half second or a half step, right? If that ball is able to stay true to the bag, now maybe we got a chance to tag that guy out. So, being able to see your spin rate and your spin directions and all of those things. My catching coaches that I work with at the collegiate level, they love the ball. They don't even want to use it with their pitchers. They're like, no, this one's ours. We're using it with catchers. I need to know what we're doing here. And the nice part, again, is the instant feedback that you're getting, right? That catcher throws that ball to second. He knows his velocity. He knows the spin rate on it. He knows the spin axis, the spin direction. He knows that if that thing is off, he can make an adjustment and check it again to see if he fixed it. Right. And that's the really nice part. Like in baseball, we know this, like it's execute and then stand around and look for feedback. Right. I mean, tell me if I'm wrong. I mean, I was a coach too, like throw the pitch. Hey, coach, was that better? Like we're constantly doing that. But now using our baseball, our softball, and using PitchTracker, the app, you have that instant feedback. And that's not somebody going, oh, yeah, I caught the tail end of that. I think that looked pretty good. No. The ball caught all of that information, got everything saved for you. You just look at the app and there's the data at your fingertips. Now go make an adjustment. Like it's really, really cool because I think at the end of the day, this thing makes players and coaches accountable, right? This holds people accountable to their own development, their own work, and then it also tracks it and monitors it for coaches. So let's say, one of the issues that I had as a college coach is I would miss practice to go recruiting, right? And so not having a tool like this, I had to go back to my assistant coaches. Hey, how'd the bullpens go yesterday? Oh, they went great. Yeah, so-and-so threw. Add this, and now instead of me going to my assistant coach and saying, hey, how'd it go today? I can pop into the app that night when I'm done recruiting. I can go in and look at all the work my players did, and I can look at it and say, okay, hey, this player needs to fix this. I need to do this with this guy. I need to do this with this guy. Okay, great. I now have a plan put together without even being at practice and seeing what happened. And now I can go back, help those players without ever being at practice. So it keeps me accountable and it keeps the players accountable, right? Like, hey, why didn't you throw a bullpen yesterday? I sent you one in the app. Oh, yeah, I forgot to use my ball. Yeah, not an excuse anymore. It's like my dog ate my homework, right? Like, come on. Like, you don't have an excuse. Use the tool, collect your information, and be held accountable for your development. Like that to me is one of the coolest things about Diamond Kinetics in general, whether that's, swing tracker here or pitch tracker. It's an accountability tool. And everything's being measured, everything's being tracked. And at the end of the day, like if you don't value your reps, you're in the wrong game.
There you go, dirtbags. I told you, any of the ones that were lucky enough to have me telling you that this series was coming and stuff like that, and you'd be fired up and excited and really make it make sense on why you want to have either the pitch tracker or the swing tracker or the combination in the bundle. It really is a no-brainer. And that's not me saying it. It's just starting to lay the groundwork, as we said, through Kyle and Casey and the rest of the team and stuff. But with our partnership, I'm going to tell you, if you're ready to get at it right now, you can go right to www.dirtbagbaseballnation.com, and we partner with them. We've got the Diamond Kinetics on there, and that you can buy them right from our site as individual products, as a bundle, as a family package, whatever they have, we have it, and to make it seamless and effortless and get it into your hand and get moving forward with your baseball and softball journeys for sure. And so, like we said, we're going to continue on giving other episodes and other information out to you to help you out in this journey. It's not one of these, buy our product, buy our this. We're great. No. Buy our products and we're in the journey with you. That's the difference with Diamond Kinetics. And that's what really gravitated us to them. And I hope them to us and stuff like that, is that we're just baseball people that are super passionate about paying the game forward and making it the best experience possible for each and every one of you. So Kyle, I know I can see you coming through the screen. You got a million more things going on in that head, and I love it, man, because I'm the same way.
Yep.
The passion. I think that's a great place for this episode, like I said, to start. It gets that groundwork. I hope you're willing to, within your busy schedule, come on back on again, whether it's here on PW Dirtbags TV or Baseball Evolution Podcast with Nolan and Braden, myself talking pitching and Diamond Kinetics and the combination or whatever it is. But can't thank you enough for being on with us, my man.
Absolutely. No, I appreciate it. And like you said, you want me back. I want to be back. I'd love to talk more. If anybody that's watching this has any questions, obviously they can reach out to you, and you can obviously distribute those to me if you need. But if anyone has any questions, obviously my contact information is online. But also the easiest way for some of you younger players, if you want to find me on Instagram, Kyle Bennett DK. If you find me on there, add me, follow me, and then shoot me a message. I'll answer any questions you guys have about DK, about pitching, anything you got. I love talking tech. I love talking baseball, love talking softball. Shoot me a message, find me on social, but let's connect and let's talk. I'm here to help.
And I love that closing stuff like that. So we're going to leave it right there, and he will follow up with you as God is my witness and stuff like that. He'll be prompt with it. And as busy as his schedule is, it's amazing. I don't know if he's got it automated in there or whatever his response, but he's quick, he's honest, he's true to his word, and intelligent about pitching, not only Diamond Kinetics, but pitching and making that connection for you. So highly recommended to reach out to him on Instagram. It's a no-brainer for everybody. So, until we see with, Kyle and Casey again on future episodes here and stuff like that, what time of the week it is, dirtbags. It's time to get up, get after it, and get dirty.